Happy Sunday, everybody. It's Sunday Funday, okay? So, I hope everybody's having a good weekend. This is my mom hair on a Sunday. Don't care hair, just FYI. I never get all three of my daughters in one space to want to do something with me. And today, all three of my chillins uh, want to do something with their mom. Amazing, right? So hopefully, hopefully, that's why today's show won't be as long. It'll still be long, but not as long as normal because I don't normally plan stuff for Sunday except for night time. And so I'm gonna have all three of my chillins because two of them are older. I can never get them in one one place. You know what I mean? So fingers crossed we'll have a good show and hopefully me and my chillins can go do something. I mean, good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. There has been so much true crime news lately that I don't even know where to freaking start. Where to start. I do know that, we got 2 days until Donna, good old Donna, is going to have her trial. It's the 17th. It starts on the 19th. So we'll see what Mrs. Adelson has to say for herself. But Wendy apparently will not be testifying without immunity, which I find quite interesting. Wendy, why do you need immunity? Wendy. I don't understand. Is there a reason? Yeah, I know. I was never going to. It's so ridiculous that anybody would even like. I think it was like 75% to 25 or something ridiculous. Again, the things in his own mind that are not actually reality, you know? And it's sad. If that's what you have to go back to for content is Ratchet Madness. Amazing to me. No, not that I know of. I haven't heard anything about finding her, but I did find something that I wanted to follow up on with that. So this missing pregnant teen is I was her. Let's just put it that way, okay? That girl is 17 years old. She is pregnant and missing. I wasn't missing, but I was 17 and pregnant with my first child, my daughter, who would then become my very medically complex, um, terminally ill child. And I went through high school with the rest of high school with my child. Brought my child to school. We had a nursery across the street from the high school, and we got an hour a day of nursery time instead of like study. You know, people will get study instead of study. We got an hour of nursery time with our children and other people's children. So yeah, there's a baby missing too. There's just a whole load of crap going on right now. And we still have some questions about the New England serial killer. There's been another body found. That, I can't. I literally can't. The shit is wild. Absolutely wild. Um, it is like never ending. Never ending. And it's like, I want to see good stories, right? I want to see good things happen. I want to see people, holding each other up, or true crime stories being given, their families given a body that's been missing, a person that's been missing, alive. Like, we want the endings that are gonna give people closure. And I feel like there's just been so much more crime lately. It's sad, it's sad. Ah, they say that, but I mean, there are a lot of bodies being found in New England. It's just weird. I mean, to just poo-poo it away and say some of these might not be connected, I think would be irresponsible. We know some of them aren't because some of them were solved, right? With the New England serial killer thing. But there's a lot of other things. And I think here's the problem, right? Even Virginia law. The old way of doing criminology is to study patterns, right? And to think that serial killers all have a pattern, right? They all have a pattern, a calling card, a pattern, a look, something that is a pattern, or people are connected in some way, whether it's they have dark hair or they're younger or locations, whatever it may be, right? That's not always the case anymore. I was listening to an FBI agent the other night who was telling a story about one of the last serial killers that he was on a case for before he retired, which was just less than 10 years ago. And that serial killer decided that they weren't going to have a pattern for that very reason, because it's all over media. Like, that's what they're looking for, to find you. So he decided he was going to kill people in random places at random times. And he got away with it for over a decade because of it. And so that's like the old way of debunking, is to say, okay, there's no pattern here. These people are not connected. It can't be one serial killer. That's not necessarily true at all. Nowadays, we have a lot of this random killing, unfortunately, and in random places at random times. And one person can be responsible for multiple of those. So, I mean, they at any point in time, there's anywhere between 30 on the low end to 250 serial killers active in the United States. Listen to what I just told you. At any point in time, the numbers range from 30 to 250 active serial killers at any point in time in the United States. That's a staggering number if you go up to 250. That is horrifying, right? On the low end, they guess 30. On the higher end, they guess up to 250 active serial killers at any given point in the United States. That is freaking horrifying. That is freaking horrifying. Horrifying. I know, right? I know. It's horrifying to think about that many predators out there. And that's not concentrated in any one area. So they could be 30 in New England and 5 in the, middle America and you know what I'm saying? Like, they could be concentrated, spread out all together, all over the place. I don't know. Well, we don't know. The low end is 30. I'd probably guess there's more than 30. The higher end is 250. I guess it's probably somewhere in the middle of, the studies that they have done as best as they can do them, between that 30 to 250 serial killers at any given point. That's a lot of active serial killers. That's a lot. That's horrifying to think about. Horrifying. So there's a little blurb. Let's see if I can find it real quick to show you guys that I found. I had to reset my computer this morning, because it was acting up. So all the clips that I had ready to go up the top, they went bye-bye when I reset my computer. I think about that when I leave the house. That something could happen at any given point. I'll tell you guys a little story, a little horrifying story. While I'm looking for this, my oldest, my medically complex one, well, she, I don't know. Well, for those of you who are from Massachusetts, y'all know the South Shore Plaza, I'm guessing, right? Does anybody remember the shooting at the South Shore Plaza years ago? It was years ago at this point. But there was an active shooter warning at the South Shore Plaza years ago. My daughter, my mother, my grandmother's not even alive anymore, my grandmother, my aunt, my disabled sister, all ended up under the table at Johnny Rockets. Now, Johnny Rockets doesn't have like a door that comes down. It's just a cage door. Like, you can shoot through it, basically. Okay. And there is not a ton of seating in Johnny Rockets. And yet they still didn't pull everybody into Outback, which made no sense to me whatsoever. Like, dude, take your customers out back. Common sense, right? My daughter called me from underneath the table. Underneath the table of this active shooter situation, to tell me what the hell was going on. Okay. At that point, I was pregnant with my little, and I was horrified, and I was driving at the time, and I'll never forget it. She called. I banged a Yui from where we were and headed towards the South Shore Plaza. And my husband turned to me and he goes, "What do you think you're gonna do? Go in there?" And I'm like, just looked him in the eye and was like, "Yeah, my kid's in there. Abso-fucking-lutely, I'm going in there. Yep, sure am." He just looked at me like I was crazy, like I lost my ever-loving mind, and maybe I did in that moment. I don't know, but, I was going in. I was going in, shots fired or not, I was going in to get my baby out. She can't run, okay? She has arthritis and inflammation throughout her entire but she cannot run. My grandmother was in her 70s. She can't run, okay? So as I'm heading there, I get a call about 5 minutes later, right as I'm getting off of the highway where South Shore Plaza exists. And I'm looking, the cops are still not there. Okay? Cops are still not there. From what I can see, they're not there still. My mother calls and tells me she's out, right? Don't go in. She's out. She's in the car. She's headed back to her house in Quincy. And I'm like, where's Nana? Right? My 70-something-year-old grandmother, this is why my grandmother was like my mother. This lady's a freaking G, okay? My freaking grandmother started screaming at my mother, "You take these kids and you go, Jennifer. Take these kids and you go." And my aunt is yelling at my mother like, we can't leave, Mom. We can't leave, Mom." And my grandmother is like demanding that you take those kids and you get the hell out of here. I'll be fine. You take the kids and you go, right? Because Johnny Rockets is like here, and there's like they're on the second, so the food court's on the second floor. Okay. So say Johnny Rockets is here. Then there's this opening, right? That goes in between like rails, right? So you could walk in between and go to the stores that are on the other side and then, walk down the hall, or you can go in between and then the doors are straight ahead. So all my mother had to do was get these kids from where she was at Johnny Rockets over this little, because you can call it like an opening, a bridge, whatever, through that, and then straight to the double doors, another something feet to those double doors into the garage and out. And my grandmother, I think it was a good, probably at least 2-minute fight for my grandmother to be screaming at my mother to take those kids and go. And begrudgingly, my mother took the kids, picked them up, and went. And my aunt stayed with my grandmother, and they, cleared the place about an hour, I guess, later. My mother never even got to talk to the police because by the time she was out, they still weren't there. Which insane to me because Braintree is huge. There should be an officer within a minute, 2 minutes, tops of the mall. So they give statements later on, call and say like, "Hey, we were there. We're out now." You know what I mean? Like safely, got to get the hell out. Like I'm not worried about giving a statement and sticking around. I'm worried about getting the hell out of there first, and then I'll give a statement later if that's what it needs to happen. And so my aunt stayed with my grandmother, and then they, made their way out after they were told that they could. But I was going in there. I was going in there, and my daughter, to this day, every time she goes to like a concert, because she's handicapped and she has like a wheelchair and stuff, they have like certain areas for people who have, but I worry, how's she going to get out of there if something like that happens again in a place like that, right? Like that goes through my mind every single time, and it's horrifying. I will never forget that phone call of my kid underneath that table calling me on the phone, that she could hear the gunshots. She could hear them because they happened at the restaurant, which was about, I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 stores down. To, if you take a left around the corner, then there are the restaurants. So on the first floor is where it happened, not the second floor, but everything is wide open. So she heard them. She heard the gunshots, 2 of them. And they ended up finding out like it was gang related or something later on. And I'm like, gang related at the Social Plaza? Like, it's a very weird place. You would expect that maybe down in Boston, right? But not at the Social Plaza. It was really strange. But that is something I will absolutely never forget, is my baby underneath that table with my family, hiding from what they thought was an active shooter coming to pick off each and every one of them. And that feeling as a parent of being like, I mean, at that moment, I was just like, I'm going in, I don't care. I'm sure had we actually got there and I actually tried to run in, my husband would have probably done it instead. But I was not, there's no telling me no. My kid is in there. Like, that's not, there's no if, answer. I'm going in. Like, it's going in. But that's not our fault, you know? Like, it's our job to keep them safe, and we do the best job that we can keeping them safe. It's unfortunate that the world is as crazy as it is right now. But, you know, when I was a kid, we were able to freely play outside with our friends and come in when the street lights came on, you know? Can't do that anymore. It's not the world that we live in anymore. It's just not safe. And of course, when you bring kids in, you don't really think like, hey, the world's going to get shittier and more dangerous, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the outdoors, but I love nature more. Like, I'd rather go for like a walk on a trail than not uphill trails anymore, but on a trail and be, you know, in the woods or a river, down a river. You know what I mean? Like, girl, listen, I think it does it to all of us. It's a form of torture, I feel like. Having kids is a form of torture because that's all we do is worry as parents, right? That's what we do, you know? I mean, my baby factory's closed. I'm not having any more, but, you know, the big man, guy, dude, person in the sky gave me 3 daughters. So I think that's a form of torture on its own. Just saying. I'm just saying. It's a form of torture on its own. Girls are needy and whiny, and I love each and every one of them. But oh boy. I mean, I helped raise my nephew, and oh God, in ways boys are easier, but also in ways girls are easier. So it really just depends. It just depends. But listen, I get it. I understand it, girl. I get it. I really do. All right. So this pregnant teenager that's missing, right, from here scares the shit out of me because I was a pregnant teenager, right? I was a pregnant teenager. It's really that simple. And this is a little sort of blurb. Well, that's the thing, right? My mom also had 3 girls. My dad had boys, but my mom had 3 girls. And so believe you me when I say it was like a bippity boppity. Your mother had 3 girls, you get 3 girls too. Here you go. My older sister was the first one to have boys on my dad's side of the family. On my mother's side of the family, my little sister was the first one to have a boy. You know? Yeah, there are. Exactly. There are pros and cons of both. For sure. Boys can be a little more reckless and dangerous when they want to like jump off the couch and do jackass moves, and girls are very up your behind. They whine and they're needy, and you go to the park to play and they need you to be right behind them. All 3 of my girls were like that. I needed to be right behind them. I couldn't just let them play and stand there and watch. Like, I had to be in it. Had to be in it. The boys, they were just gonzo. They're playing, you know? Girl, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You might have thought you did, all right? But I can tell you, as a girl mom, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. I wanted a boy. I did. I wanted at least one so badly. But I didn't get that. I got 3 girls. And I said I would not have any more unless they could bippity boppity me and make sure that it was 100% a boy. And obviously that is not possible unless you like test tube baby it, and I'm not willing to do that. So nor do I need any more. 3 is good. 3 is a good number, and I'm 2 down, 1 to go in the department of raising them. So I mean, I'm too old. All right. Do you see what I'm saying, girl? Do you see what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I helped raise my nephew, so I get it. Okay. I get it. Believe me. All right. I totally get it. And my very best friend has 3 girls as well. And so I'm like, we were cursed, girl. Like we were cursed. And I remember when each one of them, before any of them were born for that matter. And now her oldest is kind of out of high school. I'm like ready to cry. I just, she just posted a picture of her like yesterday. And I was like, remember when she was like a teeny tiny baby? And now I know how my mother's best friend feels when she used to call me Shorty Pants. Still calls me Shorty Pants, to be fair. That is what her nickname was for me as a kid, was Shorty Pants. And so she still calls me Shorty Pants. Shout out to Deb, one of my mother's really close friends. And now I know how she feels looking at me, right? Like, they're all grown up now. They're all grown up. I mean, my body feels like it's, 75, 80 years old because of all my health issues and stuff. But realistically, I'm not even 40 yet, thank God. 39 this year. But I still feel old at heart. I mean, I have 2 like adult kids. Like, I mean, hello. And my little, she's got many years to go, but she is probably my most challenging by far, my youngest. Telling you these days. All right, let's play this real quick. Again, her name is Kylie Montero and she just graduated high school. Okay. This is a little blurb that Long Crime put out here on her.
Missing right now in Massachusetts. And there are a lot of theories swirling right now about what may have happened to her. We're going to cut through the noise to bring you the very latest that we know. And we are going to be speaking with a missing persons investigator about what is happening behind the scenes, what we can expect, what happens next. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
I can't stand this guy's voice. I'm sorry, Jesse Weber.
We have a really distressing story that's happening out east right now.
Yes, it is distressing.
About a missing teenager. There is growing concern that Kylie, who is around 3 months pregnant, according reportedly to her family.
To be fair, I don't want to jump to conclusions here. This girl might very well just be escaping family life. And I will tell you, being a pregnant teenager is not freaking easy. There are a lot of expectations people have of you. And a lot of people you feel like you let down in a way. And it's fucking hard. Okay. It's extremely hard. And so, good morning, Dougie. I'm not positive, we don't know. Is she missing? Is she run from her family? I was that pregnant 17-year-old. Hey, Maestro. I don't know, I don't know. But what I can tell you is I was this girl at one point in my life. So, and because she's missing from here, it makes it even more hard to cover this story. And I have shared, her picture and, from the very first. Now, I don't know why it gave mainstream media days to give us the fact that she was missing and her picture, because that really irks the fuck out of me. Right? I still want to run away too. Can we do that? That's on my bucket list. Australia's on my bucket list. So for those of you who live in Australia, I will come see you one day. It's on my bucket list of things to do. But we don't know if she's just gone and said, F everyone, I don't want to deal with anyone, or if something horrible has happened to her. Now, here's what we do know real quick before I play Jesse Weber and his mouth, is that there had been, at least, again, according to mainstream media sources, which I don't always, Scorpio says it best here, I don't always hold dear to my heart, but we are told that there was a domestic sort of relationship with her and the boyfriend. What I will tell you is my daughter's father was my abuser at that age. And I'm glad I went through it early in life so that I could recognize those signs later on. But nobody should ever have to go through abuse, especially pregnant. And I was one of those people. And so when I heard that, the cops had been called, she was living with the boyfriend, and that she has never sort of up and disappeared before, it made my stomach drop. It made my stomach drop because not only is she a pregnant 17-year-old, but it sounds like she might be a victim of domestic violence. And that not many people can say they were a pregnant 17-year-old who was also a domestic violence victim. But I can. And that shit was hard. I was still just a kid myself. and not knowing who to go to, what to do, being afraid, very afraid, because the abusers don't let up. They let you know they'll kill all of your family and you. And they make it known by putting their hands on you that they will do that. And so I know that fear that Kylie would have felt or does feel, and it breaks my heart. The whole thing's a little suspicious, but I do know that at one point I tried to disappear so that he could never find me. And so, and that went for not even telling my family. They looked for me for months. And I was just like, nope, not telling anybody where I am, because he will find me. He will find me. And I hope that they find her, right? Safe and sound, with her baby safe and sound. But there are some real suspicious circumstances going on here. So I don't know. See, that they've been very hush-hush about what they're looking into, what they're not looking at. They've been very vague with saying they say a domestic situation with the boyfriend. They stop short of saying domestic violence, but what the fuck is a domestic situation? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. They're very hush-hush, and I feel like maybe if they were a little more open, more people would be willing to open their mouths, because if she has friends hiding her right now, like I did, those friends kept their mouths shut for my safety. They kept their mouths shut. They didn't tell anybody where I was for months. And my family called. They sure did. And so maybe, just maybe, she's hiding. And I freaking hope that that's the case. Because unlike my situation, there seems to be a couple other really suspect things going on here that don't apply to me, like the message. So we'll get into that right now.
Might have met with foul play. And one of the last messages she apparently sent is contributing to the fear that something is really wrong. So first of all, this is one of those cases where you out there can help. If you see something, say something, report it. I'm going to describe Kylie Montero to you. She is described as being 6 feet tall, brown hair, brown eyes. According to the Rehoboth police, she was last seen on August 7th wearing a red t-shirt that said, "Get over it" on the front.
By the way, Rehoboth is not that far from where I live. It is extremely close to where I live. And so the thought that something could have happened to her this close to home, also horrifying, by the way. Extremely horrifying, especially with daughters who are young adults.
Ripped blue jeans, tan boots. She was spotted near County Street in Rehoboth. That's about 50 miles from Boston. She recently graduated from Attleboro High School, shared several photos and videos of herself in a purple cap, gown, showing off.
Also, I will throw it out there that my middle daughter knows this girl. We lived in Attleboro some years ago, and my daughter went to school with her. So that makes it even more chilling.
And some of those pictures apparently featured her boyfriend and potentially the father of her unborn child. You go on social media and it indicates that his name appears to be Greg Groom. He reportedly lives near Warren Upper Reservoir in Rehoboth, according to Boston 25. And her family says her last known location was at her boyfriend's house. It's believed that Kylie was picking up some of her belongings from his house when she went missing. Now, to be clear, he has not been named a person of interest or suspect in this case, but we'll talk a little bit more about him later on. I will say family members told local Massachusetts outlets ABC6 and WCVB that Kylie had been living at a homeless shelter for pregnant women in Pembroke, Massachusetts, that she and her boyfriend were reportedly in this off-on relationship, that there had been reports of domestic issues. This is according to a post by her sister Kitty on Facebook, that the night before she disappeared, there was allegedly some sort of argument or altercation, although the details on that haven't really been provided at this point. A friend told WCVB that the last time she heard from Kylie, the teen said something was off. Quote, she was like, "I don't feel safe right now. Something's not right. I tried talking with her after that, and she just stopped responding to me after that. I just want her to know that, like, we miss you and we're not going to stop trying to find you. Kylie also reportedly called several family members, friends after that argument. You have another sister, Faith Montero, says that she offered to pick Kylie up, according to reporting from the Daily Mail, but Kylie seemingly declined. Faith told ABC6, "It's been very difficult. We're very scared. We hope she's okay. This is not like her at all. She would never just disappear. The circumstances don't seem good. It's a lot of speculation. We really don't know what happened."
I mean,
and according to Kylie's social media posts, her childhood wasn't easy. Both of her parents are dead. She recently lost a beloved uncle. She has also posted about bullying that she endured at school. Faith told ABC6 that her sister likely doesn't have enough life experience to survive on her own. So while our thoughts and our prayers are going to the family right now, and we're trying to put her name out there and her image out there for anybody who has information, now I want to get some different perspective. By the way, I know many of you might be true crime fans out there, but is anyone also in a business of some kind? If so, let me ask you something. How much time do you think your business team is just wasting in spreadsheets, chasing down receipts, trying to make sense of endless rows of bank statements? Probably a little too much, right? Well, that is where Odoo Accounting steps in. So Odoo gives users a clean I
don't need Odin, okay? I'm a one-woman show here, sir. I don't write checks. I barely get my own check, so hush your face, sir. Yeah, the last person she's seen with.
But to talk about what
is him, right? And again, see how they stopped short of saying domestic violence. They said domestic issues. That's really strange to me that they stopped short of saying domestic issues. What the fuck is domestic issues? And here's the thing. If they're living with his parents, then the parents know whether there was domestic violence going on. Okay. And I will tell you from experience, again, this might not be everyone's experience, but I will tell you from my experience. We lived with my abuser's mother and sister. Adopted sister, but sister nonetheless. I could be screaming for help at the top of my lungs from the other room. And I can remember one singular time where anyone came to help. And that one singular time, they had to use a hammer to bash the doorknob off to unlock the door as he had locked it from the inside to save me. Okay? All of the other times, they were there and ignored it. So if you think people won't ignore domestic violence or sweep it under the rug because it's their loved one doing it, you got another fucking thing coming. I lived it. I'm walking, living history of it. Okay? I have cracked and missing teeth from it. So I know better than anyone that, you know, the family of the person committing the fucking heinous acts will cover for them. Will cover for them. And I mean, why aren't his parents saying anything? Why have we heard nothing? Not a single freaking thing. She went there to collect her belongings. She was in a shelter for pregnant young women, which there are a couple. I know exactly the one they speak of in Pembroke. It's a safe place. It's a good place. But it seems that she wasn't at that place when she went missing. She was trying to collect belongings. And I know why she wouldn't have wanted her sister to pick her up. You know, I can literally tell you that she probably was like, if I have my sister pick me up, it's going to make this fight worse. And I don't want to deal with the consequences of worse. So I'm just going to suck it up. No, don't come get me. Please don't come get me. I know exactly why she would have said no to her sister coming and getting her, even though she probably should have taken the ride. Right? But I totally understand as a survivor of domestic violence why she would have said, no, don't come get me. I decline. Do not come get me. She didn't want to make it worse. She didn't want to make the fight worse. She wanted to deal with the consequences of what might be him flipping the hell out over whatever at that point.
Goes into searches for endangered people. I want to bring in a special guest. I want to bring on an expert in this area, Steve Fisher, who is a missing persons private investigator. Steve, thank you so much for coming on. Now, to be clear, you haven't been involved in the search for Kylie, but I got to get your opinion on this. I got to get your gut reaction when you're hearing about this story. What are some of the things that stand out to you
right now?
Well, 18 years old, pregnant, and a boyfriend that she apparently had some sort of physical confrontation on the 6th, and who has, been silent so far. And her own family and friends have expressed their fear that they have that there could be foul play involved here.
I got to put that aside for a second to ask the question. It sticks out to me. I mentioned this before. There is this concern that she doesn't have survival instincts, that she's so young that if she walked off on her own, she wouldn't know how to take care of herself. Have you dealt with cases like that before, where it's not an instance of foul play, but somebody walks off and, the tragedy of being on their own, something happens?
I hid for months.
Absolutely. We see it with mental health cases. We see it with autism, Alzheimer's, things like that. And this could just be a scared teenager that had some sort of confrontation.
I'll just throw out there that the only thing that brought me out of hiding was my grandfather was on his deathbed. That is literally the only thing. Or I would have continued to hide and been successful at it. Seems like her home life wasn't great, just like mine. I'm a former foster kid, so believe me when I say, doubting that she could survive or figure it out. No, especially pregnant, those instincts just kick in. You figure it the hell out any way that you possibly can, just like I did. So where I don't think she's hiding, I think she absolutely could figure it out if that's what she wanted to do. The only thing that brought me out from hiding was my grandfather on his deathbed. And I was the last person to come and see him. And he passed after I saw him. He waited. He literally waited. I was the apple of my grandfather's eye. My grandparents were like parents to me. And being the last person to see him, even all my relatives from Florida had flown in at that point because I didn't know, because I was hiding, right? So the one friend that they called that did know where I was, she frantically calls me and tells me, your grandfather is very sick. And at first I'm like, this is just them trying to get me to come out of hiding. She's like, no, like your grandfather is dying. He is very sick. He is dying. And so at that point, I decided to come out of hiding and went straight to my grandparents' house to see my grandfather. And they were not lying. He was on his deathbed. He did not want to die in the hospital. So he was at home. He had pancreatic cancer. And where they had removed cancer a month prior to that, and they said they had saw nothing. That whole month, I guess after the skin, or maybe it was hiding, I don't know, but it had spread and they gave him less than 6 months. He didn't even make it a month. But I was the last person to go in that room and hold his hand and talk to him, and he could hear me. He was very, meted up on morphine and whatever else they gave him for pain, but he could hear me. He was squeezing my hand. And after I left that room, he looked out the window, opened his eyes wide, took his last breath, and passed away. And he held on there for me. And I wish I had had more time with him, honestly. But nonetheless, the only reason I came out of hiding was because my grandfather was sick and dying. So a month previous to that, he was up walking around perfectly fine. He had surgeries. Nobody had told us what the surgeries were for. My grandfather also survived 3 heart attacks, a stroke, and a triple bypass surgery just for pancreatic cancer to take him out. So my grandfather was a fighter. And so he was fine a month ahead of time. So, I mean, that's the only thing that brought me out of hiding, was him being sick, or I would still be hiding. Where I hope that's the case with this girl, something stinks to high heaven here. And I feel like something terrible happened. And I hope I'm wrong.
If she doesn't have those survival instincts, then she's going to go into this hyper fear mode, because now she's caring for her unborn baby as well. And the environment around there, if she's not familiar with it, once you get in those woods, it can get really disorienting. If she, for some reason, went there or was trying to get out of the area and thought she was taking some path, through the woods or shortcut or something.
And just to be clear, I mean, we have so little information. We're trying to piece together what exactly is going on here. You got to also wonder, young woman by herself, pregnant, it's a vulnerable target, right? Not of somebody who even would know her, but just in general, generally speaking, and I'm not speculating about the year.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in the society we live in, she's on by herself out there, that could be a problem.
She might not be by herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't by myself.
If she doesn't have those survival instincts, then she's
But
probably
yeah,
very willing
figure it
to ask for or accept help. And you don't know who that person may be, you know, and like you said, she's alone and she's vulnerable. I mean, there's a lot of options of what could be going on here, and days go on, you know, the hopeful options, the lost or scared and just hiding out or just going off the grid for a few days, you know, unfortunately those odds are diminishing, you know.
This idea of maybe she's out there, she's fine, not uncomfortable to come forward. Have you seen a case like?
To be fair, like, I didn't have social media or media at that point sort of saying I'm missing. If they had, I probably would have came out and been like, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, right? They just considered me like a runaway kid, basically, at that point. Which I guess sort of was the case, but not sort of at the same time, because I had a hit. And this is the sad part, because I had a history of running away from the foster homes I was in because of abuse. They just considered it like, oh, just ran away again. Right. That I hate it so much, because they always bring it up in missing persons case. Well, they don't have a history of doing that, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, great. But if they do have a history of it, what was the reason? Context matters. And in my case, I kept going and going and going and going and going and going. And still no one was listening. You guys know anything about rain today? 3 months. She's 3 months along. It's unfortunate, but my history of running away in foster homes was because I'm screaming from the rooftops, I'm being abused and no one's listening. So at that point, I have to take it into my own hands, right? For my safety. And in cases like this, they don't go, oh, well, the person has a history of running away, so maybe they just ran away. Or maybe they had a history of running for their life. Just saying. And if they do magically go missing after that, we should take it a little more seriously instead of saying, well, you know, they have a history of it. So, I mean, that's a huge mistake that I think law enforcement has made time and time again in a lot of cases, thinking like, oh, they're just going to come back, and didn't put as much resources as they should have into finding someone, by being like, oh, well, they had a history of just like disappearing for a while. And it's like, people don't just disappear for fun. Okay. If somebody has a history of disappearing or a history of taking off, it's usually for a damn good reason. They don't just do it for funsies. It's not just like, oh, hey, I'm going to up and disappear for 3 months just because it's fun to do, you know, fun. No, they're doing it to get the hell away from somebody or something. 9 out of 10 times. So even if this girl had a history of anything, right, of running away at some point, she had no family, no alive family. She lost her uncle recently. Who does she have left? I know what that feels like. Not having anybody to turn to. There's nobody to call. Who are you going to call? The Ghostbusters? Like, oh, hey, you know, you need groceries in your house. Who are you going to call to say, hey, can I borrow $50, or do you have a couple extra boxes of macaroni and cheese? Like, there is no one. It's you, yourself, and you. That's it. There is nobody to call. And even if you have siblings, it doesn't mean that they can help. Doesn't mean that they have it to help or can help, right? She's got young siblings. She has siblings, but I mean, I wouldn't think they would be of the financial means to help her in any way, really. So realistically, until something like this happens, people are like, well, they had, you know, siblings. Why didn't the siblings help? It's like, you just assume that everybody has that capacity to be able to help someone. Listen, I'll help anyone. I don't care who they are. Okay. I would give the shirt off of my back or split it in half for someone who needed it, even if I needed it. It's just who I am. It's who I'll always be. But to just assume that everyone is the same as me and will just do that is a wrong assumption. Believe you me. There are plenty of people who actually have it and won't help. They'll just say, oh, I don't have it. Oh, I can't help. How many people in domestic violence situations that I have helped as an advocate, and they've had family who could have helped and chose not to for one reason or another, based on their wrong assumptions or their old ways of thinking. It's very unfortunate, but it happens. And this girl had no family. She had no family. She had her sisters, one that lives out of state, one that lives in state. That's pretty much it. Everyone else is passed away and gone. And believe you me when I say I know what that's like. She probably will at some point, right? She's only 3 months pregnant. That's very early on. It's your first trimester. It is the most dangerous time for a pregnant woman.
Like that before, where after all this press and whatever was going on in her life right beforehand, that would be the best scenario, right? She's fine. She's just scared to come forward, uncomfortable to come forward. I hope that's what's going on. But have you seen a case like that?
I actually have seen it. What happens is these people
say it,
go missing or and don't consider themselves missing, and then also it turns into a huge case. And we saw that in actually the case when the girl was flying from Hawaii to New York and stopped at LAX and kind of went off and did her own thing, and it turned into this nationwide search, and she didn't even know what was going on. And so it can be a situation like that where she could just be scared to be like, how do I unring this bell? How do I?
Okay. Thank you, girl. And I'm going to comment on this because this is something that I've been working on for years when it deals with treatment facilities, addiction treatment facilities. Girl says that she's a little behind, but her sister did a local interview. I haven't seen that interview yet, but says that she was kicked out of the women's shelter because she missed a meeting. And I know the immediate response from people who are like, you don't just get kicked out for missing a meeting. Wrong, false, wrong. And I will tell you why, right? This is something I've had an issue with for many years when it comes to addiction treatment places, where you have someone who's in a holding facility or a halfway house, and they miss a meeting and they are then thrown out, right? I kid you not. I literally kid you not. They'll be late or they'll miss a meeting. Or for instance, you don't tell on someone else for doing something they shouldn't have been doing. Not even something criminal, just something that's against the rules of the house, and you don't tell on them. They'll throw that person out and you out. Or there might be a person who works in the facility that just doesn't like your face. I've come across this many times. I've lived it myself, whereas somebody just doesn't like you. So one of the staff has it out for you to the point where they'll just write shit and be like, well, this person did this, this, and this. So now, now it's time for them to go, and they'll be kicked out. What does that ultimately do when you throw somebody out of a treatment facility? Not for getting high, not for using, but for being late to a meeting or missing a meeting or not telling on someone. What does that do? It puts that person back on the street, right? Having to then figure out another way to get back in somewhere, which, especially with addiction treatment, 9 out of 10 times you have to use again because you have to have a dirty urine to get back in. So if you have been in a place over a month and you have a clean urine, guess what? Now you need to risk your life, get high again, just to get in somewhere. It's deplorable. It's disgusting. It's inhumane, right? It shouldn't be left up to whether a staff member likes you or not, or whether you were late to a meeting to be kicked out of somewhere. It happens all the time. And you know what happens to most of the people that get kicked out? They end up dead in a casket 6 feet under. Because their only way to cope at that point, whether it's cold out, is to drink or get high or do something dangerous as fuck to try to find a place to stay or money to stay somewhere. It's disgusting, and it happens all the time. So for anybody out there who's going to say, well, she missed a meeting, got kicked out, there is no way. Oh, there is, and it happens all the time here in Massachusetts. It's one of the things I've been fighting against, especially with the Department of Health, because they haven't, part of their Department of Health is addictions. And that part is like, they're supposed to deal with all the regulations around like methadone clinics, holding facilities, halfway houses, things of that nature, except they really don't do much, to be honest. Like, shame on them, to be honest. They do absolutely fucking nothing. They take calls, they take complaints, and they don't do anything about it. So, I mean, that's the reality. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality. So, yeah, she could be hiding from the abuser. And yes, they have rules, but also in a place where it's for domestic violence. And I believe you me, when I say I know, it's because as a kid, I lived in a domestic violence shelter with my mom. and my 2 sisters in one room that had a fold out chair. It was like a single bed. My mother had to sleep in the bed with 2 other kids, and we had one shelf for food. One shelf. One shelf and one part of the fridge. One shelf in the fridge, one shelf in the cabinet. And they're not always places that are conducive to healing, right? For people in domestic violence situations. And some of the rules are outdated. They're harmful. And they need to do better because it's a bunch of bigwigs making them up, not people who've been through the scenarios and know best practices. It's just everything's about money, nonprofit or not. People are like, oh, it might be nonprofit. Nonprofits still have to pay people, so they still make money. Everything is about the dollars and cents. Make no mistake about it. Okay. He has been silent thus far. See? Exactly. Even if you're late by 2 minutes and that staff just doesn't like you, out you go on the street, trash bags in hand of all your stuff. It's brutal, right? And exactly, people who don't have somewhere to go, like they'll literally drop you off at a train station and be like, bye, see you later. If they even do that. Some places won't even do that. Especially in the middle of Pembroke. That is nowheresville. There are no buses and trains to get around. If you don't have money for an Uber or a Lyft, you're walking miles and miles and miles. Miles. You're just walking. You know? Yeah, and then you're fucking with their mental health. On top of dealing with something they're already dealing with, you're basically telling them that like they're not good enough because they made it late. Like, see you later. You know what I mean? Something about she had some bleeding issues in pregnancy, but I'll tell you this, my sister is actually one of the people that has like bleeding in the first 3 months of pregnancy, which sometimes can be normal for some people. It sometimes is like the wall of your uterus letting go of some blood. I had some issues with that with my first pregnancy. I didn't have it with any of the others, but my first pregnancy, my sister has had it with both of her pregnancies. So that also can just be, part of any one person's pregnancy. I used to get bloody noses, and I didn't know that was a pregnancy symptom, but I used to get bloody noses and be horrified. Like, am I having an aneurysm? Am I going to die? Like, what is happening? I would get bloody noses. Most people don't forget about that because that one thing of throwing someone out is usually how someone ends up dead on the street or having to start back at square one. And for the people strong enough to try to start again, they would have, like, if they had not been thrown out for such a trivial, stupid thing, they probably would have been stable much sooner than they were, right? Having to start over again and try to figure it all out again from square one while you're already struggling is not ideal for something as stupid as not making it to a meeting or, being late. You're expecting people to be perfect, and there is no such thing as perfect. We're human. We're perfectly imperfect. Okay? Perfectly imperfect. Yeah, that's another thing, though. A lot of these people running these places are not the most ideal people who should be running these places. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter how many people complain. They still keep these people on staff, whether it's the director. And a lot of these directors are very shady individuals who have actually been fired from other jobs as directors in other places. Yet other places will still hire them because they're so desperate for a director, because the turnover in these types of behavioral health, domestic violence, addiction, like all of that, the turnover rate is high, very high for staff. They don't pay enough. It's dealing with a lot. And so for that, they just take whoever wants it, whoever asked for it, basically. If they have the credentials, cool, we're taking them. And that is a huge mistake.
I explain this. So that does happen. However, now getting into 8 days, getting a little outside of that time frame.
Yeah, I hear you. But let's say this is
But then again, if you have a person like the guy who ran the place in South Weymouth, they had a whole room of prayer cards of people they had kicked out, and then those people ended up dead a day or two later. Did they change anything about that rule to make sure that they didn't add to the entire room filled with prayer cards? No. And shame on Peter for it. And clearly he didn't care, right? Did you, Peter? Did you care? I don't think he may be even, I don't even know if he's alive anymore, but did you care, Peter, after you kept adding cards to that and your staff kept telling you like we're kicking people out for like saying God bless you to the opposite sex as grown adults, and then they're ending up on the street and dead? Is that really worth it? Is it worth it? No, it's not. It's the human toll is not worth it, right? Shame on him. But he didn't change anything about it to stop it or to not contribute to it. I say, I wonder how he feels now. Well, clearly he didn't give a fuck for years and years and years and years. So I really don't care how he feels now if he's even still alive at this point, because the damage that he helped create can never be undone. Ever. You can't bring those people back.
The situation, what should be communicated to Kylie if she's watching anything, seeing anything? What are the avenues for her to come forward? And again, I hope that's what the scenario is.
She had nowhere else to go.
What should be
right?
communicated to her to feel safe to come forward?
Listen, if you're telling you've done absolutely nothing wrong, you know, people are just very concerned and looking for you, and these people love you, and there's a search going on, but you're not in any trouble. They're not looking for you because you're in any trouble. They're looking for you just for your own safety. So just call, reach out to any friend, reach out to law enforcement, reach out to, you know, literally anybody, and just explain that you need to get in touch with law enforcement. They will be very, very understanding. I can promise you there's not going to be any negative blowback.
I've done this too.
Got to talk about this boyfriend.
So I feel
on
that
again,
pain, my friend.
Off again, reported boyfriend. To be clear, has not been named as any sort of person of interest by police or a suspect. But of course, it's pretty standard operating procedure to look at the person, 100%. The partner, the significant other when a person goes missing. What do you think investigators are doing behind the scenes? What are they talking about? What are they looking into?
I think that they're probably have this really delicate balance right now going on of wanting to speak with him and without him shutting down completely and requesting a lawyer. So they kind of got to play both sides, like they're, you know, the good cop, bad cop, basically. You kind of play the middle to where you get the information from him. He's not so comfortable that he's comfortable lying to you, but also you don't put enough pressure on him to where he invokes his Miranda rights either. So it's kind of keep him in the middle, and hopefully that he's giving you some information, and probably have to be patient with him and hope he trips up on a few things because once they lay into him, he'll probably lawyer up.
Are they looking to corroborate the statements? Are they looking at Google search history? Are they looking at text messages? Are they speaking with friends and family? I mean, what are the limitations? What are they able to do at this point to get a complete picture?
Exigent basis, they can get that cell phone data as long as they follow up with the warrant after they get it within 72 hours or so. So I'm sure that on an exigent basis, they have gotten cell data, including location information, probably social media. She appears to be very active on a couple of the social media apps. So
not anymore.
Probably messaging through there. Any vehicles that he had access to, they probably get a warrant for him. If it has systems like OnStar, anything like that, they'll probably see that drive history. They're going to want to know his movements as well as hers, but both their movements on a GPS basis, as you know, for those
one or the other.
That 24, 48 hour window. And so I'm sure that they have that data. I'm sure state police and probably being assisted by FBI and others are probably analyzing that.
And by the way, I imagine for investigators, it could be tough when somebody goes missing.
Also,
you know, you might have family and friends who already jumped to conclusions. I'm not saying that's happening in this case, but something to think about. The information that those closest to the person who's missing, it's invaluable, it's important. But investigators also can't just take it as true, right? They have to corroborate that evidence as well. Does that complicate an investigation when you're dealing with emotions and you're dealing with close family and friends? And maybe I just was the other day, I was talking about all the online chatter about whether or not there's a New England serial killer. Like the public is incredibly helpful, but you also wonder whether certain comments and speculation online, how does that all affect an investigation?
Sure can.
Yeah, sure. So speculation will start really ramping up, but you know, it does. And those people closest to her are the people that are going to be so important. And also, you know, we've learned that she's living at a shelter for young women that are pregnant and or that are homeless. And so there's people there, including probably counselors that she may be having these conversations with that could have valuable information that they might not even think is that valuable, but there could be these little pieces that could really help.
Back when I was dealing with this, right? back when I was a pregnant 17-year-old going to school, I had advisors, counselors, and I would come to school with these marks on my face. And what they were finger marks from my abuser, putting his hand like this and pulling my face and putting his hand over my mouth and nose. And so I had like these sort of finger, thumb here, and 3 finger marks here. All you could see was the dots, right? And I'll never forget them sort of asking me like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, oh, I just felt. You're not gonna tell someone right away what's happening. And even the essay I dealt with as a kid, I don't think I told the first person, and it wasn't like an official, it was a friend, until I was in my early 20s. And I didn't tell my family until I was in my mid to late 20s. So, as many treatment facilities as I went through early on in my recovery, which again is almost 20 years ago now, I didn't tell them about any of that. None of it. They asked the questions and I would just say no. Nope. Wasn't ready to deal with it. I wasn't ready to have them ask me about it. I wasn't ready to relive it. I didn't even want to think about it at that point. Did not want to even think about it. So where she might have been living in this shelter, there's no guarantee that she told anyone, including a counselor, about any of that. As a matter of fact, as we know with domestic violence and SA, half the time it is the opposite. Half the time people will say something and half the time they won't. For various reasons. Most of the time it's you don't want to relive that right now. Just not ready to do it, right? And it brings out a lot of emotion and a lot of feelings. So I don't agree with his sentiment there.
Investigators tie it all together. And right now it really is a race. It's about getting that information. You don't have to get super detailed, but you need that initial information so you can get the searches in the right targeted areas. Because if she's alive, she needs to be found right away at, the time frame we're at now.
There has been a lot of agencies involved in this search so far: local, state police, search dogs, divers, drones, helicopters. How have these tools changed when it comes to, the searches for missing people? How have they evolved over time? How thorough are these searches?
They're excellent tools. So for the canines, what they could do is they could get a scent article of hers, which they probably get from the shelter she's staying at. And then they can, if they believe that she was at, say, the boyfriend's property, they can track that. They can pick up a scent. They can track it, and where it ends, they can, then try to pick up that scent at locations. So, they're great for that. They're not just for actually finding the person, but canines are great for figuring out if they got into vehicles or if they tracked off the property or whatever it may be. And then you got drones, you got thermal drones, because it's wooded areas. Of course, the key people here are going to be like the cell phone analysis teams, which FBI has got amazing people at. Those are going to be the people that are super important.
If they haven't found her, what does that mean?
Well, it's obviously it's not good, and
because you basically described how extensive these search efforts are.
They got divers in the water, but that also kind of shows what their thinking is, because, it seems to be targeted to a pretty certain area, and they do seem to be focused on the water. They have divers in there, and they also have search and rescue numbers that are wading through waters, probing holes. So it seems to me like they think that likely could be an option, but it's not good here. I don't think right now. It's hoping for a miracle, and I think the family understands this because they've expressed that as well, but kind of bracing for the worst. And listen, these people, the state police, local police, search and rescue, these are people that are amazing at what they do. And I really think in the next day or two, we're going to have some solid answers. I think that she will be found one way or another.
I hope so.
Do you think that this is going to rely on the public's health? Because they're saying anybody with any information, especially, by the way, any surveillance footage of that county street area, they're asked to contact law enforcement. Is that what we're dealing with now? We need the public's help. And how does law enforcement sort through all the tips that come in or all the information that comes in?
Yeah. So, surveillance is going to be really key here. So there's going to be like license plate readers, town safety surveillance systems, but people's individual ring cams or whatever type of Nest, whatever they have, people can go and review that. If they can put her in a certain location, then that becomes the new place last seen, which is the most important thing in search and rescue. It's where everything centers around. It's where the command center would move to. So it's going to be very important. There's always so much noise, though, in this because a lot of, listen, people want to help and you get a lot of false tips, which is not a bad thing. You don't have to discourage people from sending in legitimate tips, but there's a lot of noise to filter through in these cases. So I guarantee people reviewing surveillance that they've had sent to them. Plus, they have teams out there looking for surveillance. It'd be trail cams, things that might not be traditionally, people think of. There can be, leads there.
So, you mentioned it before. We've been talking about it throughout.
Rehoboth is a lot
She
of woods,
is reportedly around 3 months pregnant. When we talk about that, what impact does that have in terms of the investigation, the search? Because it's not just about Kylie. There's someone else there too.
Yeah, so Massachusetts is a state where if a homicide occurred, a person can be charged for the unborn child in Massachusetts as well. So that's something that they're looking for two people, I think, as far as the law goes. And so if something happened to her, it also happened to the baby. But it's just as important if she's alive too, because if she is and she's in some duress situation, then she needs medical assistance, not just for her but for that baby as well, 11 or 12 weeks old. So it's a big thing, and it's her age coupled with being very vulnerable, not having the tools to survive on her own like her family's suggested, and also being pregnant. It's gonna get all the agencies involved.
Let's just talk a little bit more about online and social media. So we checked out Kylie's TikTok account, where she's been very active, posting several times a day. You mentioned it, but there haven't been any new videos since August 6th, so the day before her disappearance. And in that video, she apparently posted a photo of herself with the caption, "I don't care what people think about me." Steve, how critical is that? How critical is social media going to be in the search, the investigation?
Yeah, so
they're always
especially now, as we all know, the younger generation, everything seems to be based around social media. So when a person's presence drops off a cliff on social media, it's a real concern. It's almost an addiction level, and we see it in so many cases where you just know that the person wouldn't have that ability to withhold from the posting. So it's scary, and also they express all their emotions online. And I can't say this 100% certain, but from what I've seen, it looks like the boyfriend has also deleted or privated his social media. So that's concerning as well. It's a big thing here, and that's something that investigators, I'm absolutely sure, on an exigent basis have requested to see if there's any DMing going on behind the scenes, to see if there's actually anybody logging into that account, which would show proof that she could be alive, or message history that may have been deleted, which the companies can pull that still. So even though you've deleted messages, there's a certain amount of time they can recover it. So I think that they'll probably have already accessed those accounts.
And by the way, talking about social media, family members, they've posted on social media that anyone interested in helping with the search, they need to make sure that they're part of an official law enforcement-led search party when they're announced. Why is that so important?
Well,
Barbara, probably believing Turtle Boy isn't the smart thing to do in life.
There's kind of two schools of thoughts on this. And in a case where there is a very good chance, and this is one of those, that there's foul play involved, I think this is a situation where the public, as much as they want to help, it's best to lay back because everything's evidence at this point. That's why, when you're seeing the video of the people out searching in the woods and stuff, you're mostly seeing sworn law enforcement officers. You're not seeing
even if I did
people in the orange, search and rescue gear. That's because everything's being treated. Anything they find will be evidence at this point. And if the public is out there and handling it, then it becomes, defense attorneys are going to go after that. And it's going to be exclusionary, and it could create a whole host of problems. So now, in a case where foul play is not suspected after about a week, I think it's good for the public to get in and help with the search. More eyeballs, the better, because it's a race against the clock of a person's life. But in this, the odds are so heavily in favor of foul play that I do think the public should, unless you're actual member of that search and rescue team or asked to come in to assist by law enforcement, I do think it's best to stay out of it.
Steve Fisher, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve Fisher. We appreciate you, my dude. Well, that's the other thing, right? I don't survive off of blood money where I lie to my audience to hide my criminal behavior. Because once his trial comes, it's all going to come out. And so many people are going to feel so fucking stupid. And I can't say that I didn't try to warn you. I did. You didn't listen. Does this look like a fucking migrant hotel? I think a migrant hotel is going to let me hang up signs of my own show, right? Let me have multiple computer screens and equipment just hanging out. Just asking for a friend. Make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Make it make sense, dude. And the amazing part is these people that actually believe the shit that comes out of his mouth, like, y'all need Jesus. Y'all need Jesus. Okay? Y'all need Jesus. Talking about a man whose personal life is literally a dumpster fire. And he thinks he has. I saw yesterday, speaking of the sewer turtle, that he tried to shame a Free Karen Reed person for selling t-shirts and making a profit off of it. I would just like to point out that that is literally the exact same thing he does on a daily basis. He makes Free Karen Reed shirts in his merch thing. He profits 100% off of it. He does not donate a dime to Karen and never has. He went on an entire rant about how he does not donate a dime, a nickel, or a penny of that to her. And he shouldn't have to. And he's not going to. So in case y'all forgot, or maybe y'all didn't start following him until the end, so y'all forgot, for him to try to shame someone who actually hand makes them herself instead of having the merch shop make them and send them out, which he does. It's the exact same thing he's been doing for 2 years. Yeah, of course he wanted a share of the money. He wants a share of everything. Keychains, stickers. He wants a share. No one else is allowed to do the same things he does, or he tries to shame them. It's amazing to me for him to, and you know what? And this is where you FKR people should be sticking up for one another. If you allowed him to shame that woman, for hand making these shirts that are in support of Karen or in support of him and making a profit off of her hard work, because I make shirts, I make pot holders, I make plates, I make anything you can put a name or a picture or a design on, I do with my Cricut. So it's amazing to me. That's hard work. It takes hours and hours and hours. Then you have to heat press it on. If you're using a heat press, or press it, like if you're just doing glass and you don't use heat, you still have to peel each piece and weed. Like, it is hard effing work, bro. It's hard work. Absolutely, she should make a profit off of her fucking hard work. How dare you? We're talking about the same man that has been selling for 3 years Free Karen Reed shirts and every other thing on planet Earth and not giving Karen a single cent of it. Not a red cent. Went on an entire rant about how he shouldn't have to, and he's not going to, and he doesn't have to answer to anybody. It's his money and his, business. So who the fuck is anybody to question him? Who the fuck are you to question this woman? I specifically remember when the Young Jerks said he was going to donate a certain amount to Karen, and he had held on to it. Not saying he did anything wrong, but he didn't do it like each time. He waited for, a couple months and then would send whatever, percentage that he was sending all at once. So, I mean, who is he to dictate when someone donates it? So every time a t-shirt comes in, she should donate $7 or $6 instead of waiting until it gets up to a decent amount and then doing it. Like, he doesn't get to gatekeep that shit and then turn that into she lied and didn't donate because she didn't do it that minute, the minute he thought that she should, while he calls her a grifter and does the exact same thing, if not worse, than that woman. Because at least that woman didn't go to fundraising events to volunteer their time and then get paid. And led these people to believe he was donating his time. He wasn't donating his time. He got paid over $1,500 to do that friggin' 3-hour event. What is this real life? Like, it's amazing how they not only believe him, but then they take the dog whistle of him attacking that woman and then attack her. Nobody deserves that, bro. Nobody. If engaging in that, you're a sad human being. You are a sad human being. If it does not dawn on you that it is something he's been doing for 3 years, then you probably need to get the F off the computer and never say it. Take all the seats, not several, take them all. Take all of the seats, okay? Because he criticizes people for doing the exact effing same thing he has been doing for years. It is freaking mind-blowing. And this is when I say, like, we're talking about someone who oftentimes will project onto other people. Every single thing he accuses someone else of doing, he has done or is currently doing. Most of the time, it's blatantly and in public. Part of the time, it's not public and it's in private, so people just think that, you know, we're lying when we say he did this shit, and I feel bad for them because ultimately, in the end, when it all comes out at his trial, that we warned you, we tried to tell you, and you didn't listen, I'll wait for the apologies I'll never get. I'm still going to be here to say, I told you so. It's that simple. But if you're engaging in that dog whistle, because that's what that was, him putting that out was a dog whistle to his followers. Hey, I don't like this lady for some petty reason, probably because she didn't give me 10 cents off of her, you know, $20 shirt that she's already planning on donating a portion of. But she didn't give me 20 cents and it's my likeness. So, you know, F off. Or she didn't donate to my fund fast enough within that week instead of waiting until a large sum. The Young Jerks did that. He waited. He waited until there was a larger sum and then donated it. He didn't do it that week. He didn't do it that 2 weeks, that 3 weeks, that 1 month. He waited and waited and waited. And he has a right to do that as long as he ultimately donates it like he said he was going to. It doesn't matter whether he does it that week, that day, that month. But that was okay. Why isn't it okay for this woman to choose when she does it? Why does she need to do it after every t-shirt is sold? That doesn't even make any sense. I would never do that. I'd wait until there's a decent amount and then do it. You know what I mean? No one should be telling anybody else what they can and can't do. And you certainly, as a grifter himself, should not be calling anybody else a freaking grifter. That is so absurd to me. To call someone else out for the exact same thing you've been doing for years, sir, is so mind-numbingly insane to me that you have that much lack of self-awareness. It is freaking amazing how many people believe the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. I just don't get it. Is it a lack of intelligence? I mean, is it a lack of critical thinking? Is it both? Is it just because you want so badly to get a pat on the back from a YouTuber that you need to simp for a dude you know nothing about? We're talking about the same guy that used his children to try to set someone up, pictures of his own children to set someone else up. And then he then brought that false evidence that he created into a court. And that's not the first time he's done it. It's not the second. It's not the third. It's not the fourth. Okay. Can you imagine? And there's evidence of all of that. But instead of actually going and looking, y'all blindly just believe whatever he claims. It's absurd. It's insane. And yeah, until you get a fucking trademark, fuck off. Fuck off. Might want to file for that trademark then, sir, don't you? Like, it's mental. He said, I haven't said bad things on social media that can really hurt people. They don't take me serious. He knows that that's a lie. He knows that that's a lie. Here's the thing. The First Amendment only applies to him, right? If anybody else exercises their right, then it's criminal and it's terrible and it's awful, right? And they don't do what he does. They don't spread lies and misinformation over petty beefs or, slights that he perceives as a slight. You know? I know. I mean, hey, listen. That's probably another thing that's got him straight on edge, right? That breakup has to have him looking out the window every 5 minutes for a police cruiser to pull up. Because realistically, if Meredith decides that she is going to spew where the bodies are buried, he's in deep shit. And I'm sure he's threatened her into silence because that's what he does, right? Is threaten. Well, if you speak a single word of me, I will destroy you. I will tell people you did this, this, and this. I will go to police stations and have you arrested for whatever behavior I think that you did that is criminal or whatever I can make up, all that shit. It's deplorable. Nobody deserves to be blackmailed or threatened. That's disgusting. And not for nothing, but innocent people don't run around threatening and blackmailing people. Just FYI, in case anybody was wondering, innocent people don't need to do that, right? Innocent people do not need to say, hey, if you speak one word about me, I'm going to make you, quote, Turtle Boy famous. Or do you know what I can do to you? Do you know who I am? To think that highly of yourself is Delusional. Delusional. Hey, Holly. Well, that's the thing. How dare you? And listen, again, I'm not FKR, but right is right and wrong is wrong, right? So if you're going to shame a lady who made t-shirts with her own hands, right? She's making them. That takes a lot of time to make those and a lot of hard work. Okay. You're going to shame her for making them and making profit off them when you've been doing that for 3 fucking years and went on an entire rant about how you don't give Karen Reed a single penny of those profits and you're not going to, and you shouldn't have to. Then who the fuck are you to talk about anybody else's money? I saw him post something the other day to Joel from Surviving the Survivor. Oh, well, why don't you give your mother 50% of her story, of the proceeds of her story? He already does, you absolute genius, number one. Number two, why don't you give 50% of your proceeds to Karen? Just say, I mean, the lack of self-awareness is freaking amazing to me. It's amazing to me. What's even more amazing is that his followers don't point that out. They just ride right up his ass. Like, yes, you're so smart. And so, yes, you say it. Yeah. And they just repeat word for word his talking points. Word for word. Joel, you're just grifting off your mother's story. No, he's telling a history story. His mother is walking, talking history lesson. And if he wants to tell that story, who the fuck are you to tell him he can't? Writing a book is hard work. And again, yes, you're going to promote a book you wrote. Did Aiden not promote the horrible book that he wrote that he also lied in? Just wondering. Oh, wait, he did, right? He did. I don't give a shit if I chose to tell my daughter's story because she cannot write it herself. She is blind and she cannot write it herself. If I chose to tell the story of what my daughter's gone through as the parent, I have every right to do so. It's my family, right? If we decided to write this book, like, who the fuck are you? Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? And for anybody who jumped in to try to defend the sewer turtle on that, you might want to think twice about who you're defending and why. If you're defending him simply because you think he does good work, like that's the excuse every time. So does doing good work mean that you're a good person? Does it mean that everything, no matter what you do that's horrendous and awful and terrible, that you're just going to defend him anyway? Because you want that pat on the back from him so badly, right? You want to be a part of that. I don't even know what that is. That crew of people so badly that you can't even realize that they all eat their own 24/7. If you get the slightest thing he doesn't like about you, if he just doesn't like your face, guess what? He's going to attack you. He's going to lie about you. He's going to smear you. He's going to try to shame you for something that happened 20 years ago. Or your family, for that matter. When will y'all learn? When? Though he depends on them to do his dirty work. So here's the thing, guys. If you're running around doing his dirty work, what happens if you stop doing his dirty work? Just saying. What happens? When he puts a dog whistle out, like he did about this lady, here's so-and-so. She did this, this, and this. Now she's, quote, bad, right? That's a dog whistle for all of you idiots to go and attack that woman. Before you decided you were going to attack that woman, did you stop and think about what he said, whether it was true, and how hypocritical it is? Or did you instantly go attack that woman and repeat his talking points? Because if you instantly went and attacked that woman and repeated his talking points, that is what he is betting on you to do. You know what? I've put this out here before, and I'm going to put it out again. And I can't wait until they show y'all when they put his phone contents out there into the world for his trial. Do you know what he thinks of all of you as his followers? Do you know that he tells people privately in his text messages that y'all are stupid and y'all do whatever he says? That y'all are the most ugly looking group of followers he's ever had? And now it's hilarious that no matter what he says or does, y'all will continue following him and giving him money. That he can just say whatever and y'all will throw money at him. That you can, doesn't matter what he does. That's bad. Y'all will still have his back. I can't wait for you to see what he thinks of all of you personally. Because I can tell you, at least some people in this chat can tell you what I think of the people who watch me personally. And I cherish people. I am very appreciative of the people that take their time to watch my show and engage in this show in any way, shape, or form. Because without them, where am I? Right? He doesn't give a shit about any of you. He never has. He laughs at you behind your back, and you sit here and do his dirty work for him. How disgusting. Are you spending your days harassing people he doesn't like because he puts out these ridiculous tweets or posts about people? Why? Why are you doing it? Ask yourself why. Because you want to be friends with a YouTuber? He doesn't have friends. He doesn't even know what it's like to have a real friend or be a real friend. It's that simple, okay? That's sad. That's really sad, you know? Right? I mean, I won't see. That's the thing is I don't engage in that kind of shit where it's like, oh, well, it'll get me views. It'll get me views. I don't give a shit if it'll get me views or not. I'm not willing to sit here and lie or put dog whistles out to attack people. I want no part of anybody attacking anyone. Not my style. Never has been, never will be. Calling out his shit behavior, I will always do that. Always. And I don't care, once again, whether it's someone on this side or someone on that side he's attacking. I'll call it out every time. I don't have to be, you know, a fan of FKR to say you're attacking a woman from that side for what reason? Doing the exact same thing you do every day? Get the fuck out of here. I block a lot of people. And I've had people be like, well, that's engagement. Elise, don't block them. It's engagement. And it's like, yeah, I get it. It goes to analytics. It's engagement. But I don't want that kind of engagement. I don't want that kind of toxic bullshit on my channel. I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't want that kind of audience. It's not the kind of audience I want. I want to foster a sense of community, a sense of safe community where people can come and have these conversations, and not be attacked, and not have to worry about their personal business being blasted and then changed to fit whatever narrative is necessary on social media. I don't engage, if you guys don't notice, even on social media, in harassment campaigns or harassing people. Not my style. I don't post personal text messages, even when I'm no longer friends with someone. I would never engage in that kind of behavior, ever. I don't care who it is, even him. I don't want anybody thinking that my channel is a dog whistle to go and harass and attack and belittle and shame anyone. Okay? Anybody. I don't care who it is. Nobody. You know why you'll never hear him say that on his channel? Because he depends on y'all doing that for him. If you don't think so, ask him to denounce that behavior. Ask him if he will make a public statement to denounce that kind of behavior if he is not using it as a dog whistle and he is not using people to do his dirty work. If he's not, right, then he's got nothing to worry about and he can make that public statement. Why do you think he never has? Because he depends on all of you doing that for him. I have made it known publicly a billion times, and I will say it a billion more. Do not use my channel as an excuse to harass anyone. Anyone. There's a big difference between harassing people and calling out bad behavior. And usually I call out bad behavior and I'm responding to that bad behavior. I'm not just like for shits and giggles being like, well, today so-and-so did X, Y. Usually I'm responding to some shitty thing that they did very publicly or misinformation. I don't take it upon myself to just say shit about people, privately or publicly, because it serves no purpose whatsoever. I do not enjoy going after other creators. I don't enjoy criticizing other creators. Everybody does, things a different way. And who am I to decide what way they do it or what way they don't, right? I am nobody to decide what way they choose to run their show or run or write a book or live their lives. Who the fuck am I? I'm the most probably least judgmental person on planet Earth. I don't care how one decides to do any of that. That's your business and your business only. To try to do that to people, gatekeep the way people make money or raise their family or where they live or how much money they make and try to shame them. First of all, clearly this is not a migrant hotel. Okay. But to try to shame a homeless family, nonetheless, that is deplorable. That's disgusting. That's really sick. Sick behavior. Sick behavior. Do you know how many homeless families, and I have been a person who has had a fire, so I know all about it, have become homeless because they had a fire or for domestic violence reasons or because they had the slumlord or because their rent was raised so much money the next year that they couldn't afford it anymore? Rent in this state is expensive. I pay over $2,000 a month just in the rent. Never mind the electric and the gas. Okay. Plus the groceries, plus this. I haven't even done school shopping yet. Okay. I haven't even done school shopping yet. Okay. So it's amazing to me how everyone wants to tell everyone else how to live their lives or what they should and shouldn't do. But when you let somebody consistently spread misinformation about a bunch of people, and then you just repeat that like a parrot, you're doing harm yourself. So when he does it about you and other people repeat it, don't cry to us that, oh, well, he's doing it to me now. So I know that he's a liar because he's now lying about me and all of his people are repeating it. We tried to tell you. You didn't listen, right? And you help perpetuate it. You help perpetuate it. If you're helping perpetuate it by repeating his talking points and harming people by spreading misinformation about them or even trying to shame people, who the fuck are you to try to shame anyone? Are you judge, jury, and executioner all of a sudden? Do you have no skeletons in your closet? You're a perfect person in life. You've never made a single mistake ever. It's interesting. Because if you're not a perfect person and you do have even a single skeleton in your closet, who the fuck are you to try to shame anyone else for anything else? Are you that high up on your high horse? Are you really sitting in that ivory tower? Shame on you. Shame on you. It's really sad. If that is what you spend your time doing, get a fucking hobby. Start a podcast. I don't know. Do something. Do something besides hurting people based on a liar, a known liar's word. Why does it take until he gets to you for you to realize it? If you have been shown the evidence and you ignore it, right? If you have been shown the evidence of him doing these things over and over and over and over, and you then choose to ignore it or explain it away in some way, you're part of the problem. And I have no sympathy for you when all of it comes out in his trial. None. Zero. Don't come to me and say, shit, you were right. You were telling the truth. Lindsay's been telling you guys the truth the entire time. And what'd she get for it? What did she get for telling the truth the entire time? She got fucking nothing. She got nothing. Oh, hey, Jack. Where are you? In the bushes, Jack? So popped up on my screen on my phone is a $10.66 donation from Jack. And he said, you are marvelous. No, Jack, you are marvelous, my friend. And that money will be going towards doing something with my 3 daughters today. Anything I make today will be going towards doing something with my chillins today. Oh, yeah. He can't handle criticism of his bad behavior, so he then takes it out on other people. You want to know what his problem with Joel was? Is that Joel and his mother go to CrimeCon. That's his problem. That was his petty problem. And for the problem is he'll then lie and be like, that's not why. I'm calling him out because he's grifting. Like, that's his excuse for everything. Everybody is crazy and a grifter and a liar and a scammer, but him. Everyone is, but him. And if that's the same narrative every time you attack somebody, you might want to stop and think, why is that the same excuse he uses every time? You ever ask yourself, what has he ever done to help a single person? Literally. I mean, privately, quietly. What has he ever done to help someone? I'll tell you, nothing. You know what he spends his time doing? Actively trying to engage in harming someone, setting someone up, blackmailing them, or wiretapping them. And when y'all figure that out and it all comes out as evidence, I don't want to hear, we didn't know, this is so horrible, he's a horrible human being, why didn't we know, how didn't we know? You did know, and you chose to ignore it. You chose to explain it away. You chose to gaslight and move the goalpost. Shame on you. That's a great question, Pam. I love that. I absolutely love that. So Pammy Sue says, I think a good question we can ask ourselves is, how do we want to honor the people we've seen hurt? And I promise you, there's way more people than what you have seen. Privately, there are so many more victims that have been seriously harmed by the misinformation and lies and, quote, shaming. So many. When someone hurts themselves because they're done being online bullied, who's fucking responsible for that? Who? The same man who told someone to off themselves on a live stream? When that young man was saying, listen, you're putting all my information out there and shaming me. It is doing serious damage to my mental health, and I'm probably going to end up killing myself because of it. And you know what the turtle's on air expression to say to this man was? Do it. You won't. Live stream it. My father committed suicide. There's a reason I have this tattoo that says daddy on it with angel wings and a cross and the rosary bead. That's for my dad. My dad, who didn't have to step in and be my dad, right? He came into my life when I was about 4 or 5, married my mother. And my entire life up until I was 21 and he committed suicide, he was dad. He was my dad, my daddy. Taught me how to ride my bike and tie my shoes and fix a car in his shop, right? Even when him and my mother split, he didn't have to come pick me up for visitation, but he did. And he'd call me and he'd check in on me and he would tell me he was proud of me. I miss my dad very much. And if somebody ever said to my dad, go ahead and yourself. Sorry, we were buffering. Go ahead and yourself. And as a matter of fact, live stream it. You won't. These are the words that came out of his mouth to someone else he was hurting. Just to shame ratchets, right? Human toll isn't worth it. For you to sit there and shame someone for a mistake they made or mistakes they made while having your own life be in a complete dumpster fire is the most disingenuous bullshit I've ever seen in my entire life. Who the hell are you to shame anyone? Go shame yourself for your own behavior because it's deplorable. The shit he does privately is even worse than what you see publicly. Make that clear. You know, I could answer that privately. You want to send me a message privately? I will sort of answer that for you. It's a very good point, Pam. It's a very, very good point. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm sure he does get proposition, but I'm sure it is not from a 10. Let's put it that way, right? Pammy said, I often ask myself, how can I honor the victims of smear campaigns? Is it to attack and belittle people the same way? No, it's to be the best version of myself. It's to encourage buy-in. Exactly. You don't buy into the bullshit. You don't continue to do that same shit. There's a ton of tit for tat. Twitter's a fucking cesspool. It's really that simple. It's a damn cesspool. Karma always takes its time. It's unfortunate, but it does take its time. All right, I have one other thing that I want to pull up for us real quick that I think is part of news that we haven't seen. I know some of you might have already seen it, but it's something that I wanted to share for some people who maybe haven't. In the meantime, like I said, the show's not going to be as long as it usually is on Sunday because I do plan on doing something with my 3 beautiful daughters today. I'm going to at least attempt to do something with them today. So, shit. It's going to be a shorter show, but I'll see you guys in the morning anyway, so no big deal, right? And the Adelson case is coming in 2 days, so, you know, tomorrow will probably be 10:30 a.m. because I have an appointment very, very early, and I'll be back by then. So it'll be about 10:30 in the morning when I see you guys tomorrow morning, but I will see you guys tomorrow morning. So in the meantime, while I'm getting this ready, do me a favor and hit the like button, the subscribe button. That would be helpful. If you want to donate to the channel, we have a bunch of different ways. Inside of the chat, there is a pinned link. You can use your credit or debit card for that, and you can enter any amount you want. You can remain anonymous if you want to donate to the channel, or we have Venmo, Cashapp, PayPal, Revolut. All that information is on the screen here. We do have wish lists, but I really need to update them. Those are in the description of the video along with all the other information. Any donations I get today will actually go towards me doing something with all 3 of my daughters today. which I'm excited because I never get all three of them in one place because the two are older. You know, they never want to mingle with the little. And so they off doing their own thing. And so it is very rare occurrence to get all three of them to want to do something with mom. Okay. So I'm pretty excited about that. Oh, I'm sure he did. They are. But so here's the problem, right? Is there's always, so the problem is when you have constant evidence that's like popping, it's also, let's also be clear here. When you do a civil case and there's an ongoing criminal case, most of the time you would wait until that criminal part is over, because if you don't, the civil judge more than likely is going to put it on a pause until that criminal thing is over. Sort of like they did with the wrongful death suit that John's family put for Karen. Is this civil judge said, all right, well, we're going to need to put this on a pause until the criminal stuff is over for legal reasons. You know, there's a bunch of different legal reasons why you would do it. But so what I am getting at here is you would wait until that criminal stuff is almost over before you file those paperwork. And when he is, so people are like, well, you only have a certain amount of years. That is true. But the clock resets itself if he commits another act. So the problem is if he's going to keep committing defamation, that clock just keeps resetting itself over and over and over and over and over. So when you have constant stuff coming in daily, evidence daily, and he's got an ongoing criminal thing, you'd want to wait until that criminal thing is almost over before you file. Now, some people file before the criminal thing is over. Cool, to get it on the record, and then you have the judge sort of put a hold on it until the criminal stuff is over, but at least it's on, the docket, right, on the record. Some people choose to do it that way, and some people choose not to do it that way. That's really more just about preference, whether you do that or not. Oh, I'm sure he did. He's done it to a lot of FKR people. They don't seem to understand that that's exactly what's going to happen to them every single time. And it doesn't have to be because you did anything wrong. 9 out of 10 times, it's not because you did something wrong. It's literally just because he's a petty as fuck. And if he feels like you slighted him a little, or that you were drawing money or viewers or whatever towards you that he thought belonged to him, he has a meltdown. It's that simple. And people like, there's no way, he's not that petty, he's not that dumb. I assure you, that is false. Yeah, I saw that too. Like, why use Vine? Like, leave Vine alone. It's not for just leave it alone, Yeah, he is creepy as hell. All right. So this is the professor, right? That from Washington that had Brian Kohberger. And now we're getting a letter that this professor wrote to the other professors about Kohberger months before he committed the murders. Okay. This is fucking shocking.
A warning that Brian Kohberger might just become a predator. And again, in these documents that our Brian Enton has been able to obtain, this is what this professor says. Kohberger is smart enough that in 4 years, we will have to give him a PhD. Mark my word, I work with predators. If we give him a PhD, that's the guy that in many years, when he is a professor, we will hear he is harassing, stalking, and sexually abusing.
Boy, was he right.
These were words
Boy, was he
months
right
before the murders.
Thank you for watching.
Boy, was he freaking right. Boy, was that professor right. He could see through Brian Kohberger. Oh, man. Oh, freaking man. That is some shocking shit. Also, earlier on, Antoinette Levy talks about, Ashley Banfield, talks about now this information that we're getting that we knew that Kohberger had said when he opened Kaylee's door and Maddie's door, like, I'm here to help you, right? Now we're hearing, at least in the police records, what one of the surviving roommates said. He said Kaylee's name. He said, Kaylee, I'm here to help you. This is the first we're hearing of this, of him saying her name, but it's in the police documents.
Possible answer to the burning questions that Koberger would not answer and authorities seemingly couldn't find out. Why that house? Why those victims?
Agreed, Maestro.
Who among them, if any, were specifically marked for death? Page 3, paragraph B of a new document from the Idaho State Police describes an interview with a surviving roommate. That's what they say, a surviving roommate who, from everything we know at this point, must have been Dylan Mortensen. And I want to read it specifically for you. Sometime in the early morning hours, Redacted was awoken and opened her room door and heard a male say, quote, "It's okay, Kaylee. I'm here for you."
Always thought she
and
was
crying.
the target.
She then shut the door a short while
That's
later.
evidence that she was.
Opened her door again and saw someone approximately 5'10" tall, dressed in black with a ski mask, standing in the kitchen. This is absolutely stunning information. According to a surviving roommate, the killer, Brian Koberger, used Kaylee Gonzalez's name before he ended her life. If that surviving roommate was right, he knew who Kaylee was. He knew where Kaylee lived.
And if he did,
and
it was a target.
Might just have been a targeted attack with Kaylee Gonzalez being the target, or at least one of the targets. Here's where I want to add some context, and it's important context. From the thousands of pages of case files that we have been reading since this crime was committed nearly 3 years ago, that surviving roommate, Dylan Mortensen, gave more than half a dozen interviews to the police after the murders. And while her story has remained really, really consistent, most of the answers that she gave about what she heard that night included hearing the words, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." It's okay, I'm here to help you, without Kaylee's name attached. So this is the first time we're hearing that at least one of her statements to the police included hearing the killer saying Kaylee's name. There is also this from Washington State University, where Koberger was teaching as an assistant. He was pursuing his PhD in criminology. And we knew that he was unbelievably unpopular there. We knew that there was friction, especially with the female students and the female colleagues he had. But in these new documents that we've been able to obtain, they're still not public, but News Nation has obtained them. In fact, Brian Enton, my colleague, who's been working doggedly on this story for the...
So this is what we just read. That was the letter from the professor. Maybe she saw the letter. I don't know. Yeah, he called his mother and his father. It was so strange. Like, yeah, why are you texting your dad and saying, "Father, why isn't mother answering?" That is so weird to refer to your parents as father, mother. What weird. Mom, dad, like, okay, weird. Mom wasn't, I don't know. It's just weird to me. Maybe people do call their parents that. I don't know, but to me, that's freaking weird. Meister said when BK was asking on Reddit for people to answer a questionnaire about their crimes, he specifically said not the crimes you got caught for. Yeah, he wanted to know how to not get caught, you know, in my opinion. You mean Carrie Rawson? I think she's extremely brave. The BTK killer's daughter. She has helped a lot of victims, survivors, and victims' families. And I think it's an interesting concept that maybe he was in contact with Brian Koberger. I think that definitely should be explored. I heard about that, Dexter Resurrection. I heard that it was on. I haven't watched it. But to me, that screams that Kaylee was the target. So if investigators knew that the entire time that he used Kaylee's name, I don't think that they can continue to say that there's no evidence that one of them was a target. To me, that's evidence that she was a target. How do you know her name? How do you know her name? How do you know her name unless she is a target? Common sense. If she has nothing to do with anything, you're not following her on social media, like, how would you be using her name unless she is a target? So to me, that screams that the investigators, at least publicly, were being a little disingenuous when they said there's no evidence to say that any one of them was a target. It sounds like to me Kaylee was at least one of the targets, if not the target. Yes, he did, Jack. Yep. Yeah, see, it would be interesting to jump into that story, Maestro, for sure. Somebody write a letter to the BTK killer and ask him if he knows Brian Koberger. Be amazing if he actually answered you and told you. Yeah, that's what you heard, Jack. You sure did. You sure freaking did. You sure did. That screams to me that clearly she was a target. So, I mean, when investigators said that there was no connection or they didn't know, there's no evidence of a target, I think that's pretty disingenuous. It clearly looks like there was a target, right? There was. So, I mean, there is so many things that I could go over with you guys today. Meister said in that statement, she also says she might have been drunk and it didn't happen. I don't know. I feel like she probably, I mean, here's the thing. Even if I'm drunk, I know what's happening. I can hear everything. I can see everything. I'm not just going to imagine it, you know? So I don't necessarily believe that, oh, she was just drunk and it didn't happen. It probably did. And she was probably just saying, like, listen, guys, I had drinking the night before, you know, and she was afraid. She was very scared. I don't blame her, you know? But apparently she was also one of those people that was, I can't remember if it was Bethany or Dylan, but they like a pot would fall and like they'd call their friends like, ooh, something, you know, creepy. And so they didn't really take it seriously because many times they had come over to like check on things that she was just a little skittish kind of, you know, which clearly she should have been, you know, at least in this scenario, she should have been. All right. There's a billion other things I definitely could go over with you guys, but we have plenty of time to go over some of it tomorrow for sure. I think there are a billion other cases we got to catch up on for sure. But we also got to do a little bit of prep in the Adelson stuff before the case starts on the 19th, which is 2 days from now, with jury selection, because for people who don't know the story, I want to sort of catch them up on what's going on with the Adelson case, because it's a big story. It's a big case. It involves multiple family members. Wendy Adelson's now saying she's not going to testify unless she gets like immunity from prosecution. And now the defense is going to be limited in what they can ask her to basically what the prosecution asked. So it seems like her testimony is going to be extremely limited. Why would you need immunity if you didn't do anything wrong? That's the part that gets me. If you had nothing to do with anything, you didn't do anything wrong, what the fuck do you need immunity for? That just screams you committed some sort of crime, even if it's not directly related to this. In some way, shape, or form, you committed a crime you want immunity for. Or maybe you think that they're going after you or want to go after you after, so you want immunity so they can't. I don't know. Either way, it screams like something ain't right here, you know? Something ain't right. Like, yeah, I think she's probably in shock because saying something like that is like, duh, even if you clean the week before, you're going to have a problem finding DNA. Maybe she meant their DNA, like their fingerprints or whatever. But even so, you live in the house. I don't think some people just don't realize how much DNA is left. You know, a hair, it is DNA. Your fingerprints are everywhere all over your own house. You know, your hair is everywhere. As a woman, your hair is everywhere in your own house, or even in a car you're in a lot. It's everywhere. We shed. Okay. A lot of hair. We shed. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, eyewitness statements themselves are actually very unreliable. Even when you're not drunk, eyewitness statements eyewitnesses in general are extremely unreliable, especially after the first time. They become more and more and more unreliable, unfortunately. And maybe we'll go over why that is tomorrow. And this is why they try to find actual like DNA evidence or scientific evidence of some sort. And it's because people's brains, memories can play tricks on them for various reasons, and not because they're even attempting to be wrong or disingenuous, but the way the human mind works is fascinating. And maybe tomorrow I'll show you guys some of the reason why like eyewitness or witness statements are so shitty. A lot of innocent people have gone to jail over witness statements. Witnesses can be bribed, threatened, or just want it to be something. Or if you suggest something to them, not even like being like, well, I'm suggesting, in a way where you're talking to them, but the way you're talking to them is suggesting certain things, they then create that in their mind as a sort of false reality. And that happens a lot in eyewitness testimony or recollections. So maybe I'll show you guys some of the sort of science behind that tomorrow, along with some of the other cases I wanted to go over. I just don't have time to today. I really want to spend as much time as I can with my girls while they're all in one place, because I never get them all at one place. So once they arrive, you know, spend as much time with them, all three of them, as I can. They never all want to be in one space. Having a little sister is annoying for the older two. So they like to do their own thing. So I'm going to attempt to bring some of that to you guys tomorrow morning. Like I said, it'll probably be around 10:30 tomorrow morning instead of 9:30, just because I have an appointment early in the morning. But I'll be back by probably around 9:30. So if I can go earlier than that, I will, obviously. But keep an eye out. Make sure that your notifications are on so you guys will catch me. That will be a fun, because we don't, I mean, there are multiple trials going on right now, but if we jumped into one while they've already started, I feel like some people would be lost. And since the Adelson one is starting in 2 days, I don't want to start one and not be able to finish it. So we'll do some catch up. We'll do some other private information that I have for you guys. That's not mainstream media, public information. It's a reason why I don't trust mainstream media. It's because they don't report on important things. They just don't. If they don't feel like it's going to make them ratings or dollars or cents, they won't report on it. And I will. So there's that. But I got a couple private things that I need to clear up with a whole lot of you. There's been some shenanigans that have gone on for quite some time in all of this. And I think it's not enough to just say it on X or back people up when they're telling the truth. It really just needs to be said to clear it up. And people can choose to believe or not believe whatever they want. I really don't care at that point. I've said my piece a million times. I will say it again. But there was a lot of shit that went on behind the scenes privately when it came to the Karen Reed trial that a lot of people have no idea about. Still have no idea about. And they're kind of lost. And they're like, well, what the hell is going on here? Well, I'm going to fill you in a little bit on what the hell is going on here. So hold on to your hats, people. Hold on to your buckle the fuck up, buttercups. Buckle up and make sure you got your airbag going. You might need it for the whiplash. All right. I love your stinking faces. Everybody, yeah, if you can share Kylie Montero's picture, her story, please do so, especially if you're from Massachusetts, on social media. It might get to somebody who saw her, when she went missing. The faster we can find her, the better. She is 3 months pregnant. She is just a young girl. And that case is super personal just because, I was that girl once. So I would ask all of you to please share the information about Kylie and pray that they find her safe and sound and her baby. Because I was that girl at one point in my life, and I need her to be found safe with her baby. And for the people who are supposed to help her in her life, the people of authority that were supposed to help her, actually this time do their fucking job and help her. Listen, I got all sorts of information on all sorts of random shit. All right. All sorts of random shit. On your way out, do me a favor, hit the like button, the subscribe button, change your notifications to all. Some people have it set to most, and it's automatically set to most. So if you click on that little bell, you'll notice that the notifications for my show, if you go to the front of my page on YouTube, will be set to most if you haven't changed it to all, which means you're only going to get a notification when I go live sometimes. Change that little thing from most to all. This little QR code at the top right-hand corner, this little thing here up at the top corner, Maestro made this for us. So if you have an iPhone and you couldn't get a membership to the channel before, this is how you do it. You just scan this little code with your phone, put me on the TV, and scan this code here with your phone, and it brings you right to the front of the page where you can buy your membership, pick whichever tier, and buy your membership to the channel. Make sure you have a membership. That's always super helpful. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, even my replay crew, any and all donations for today are actually going to go for me to do something with my babies. My babies. You can do so one of a bunch of different ways. We have Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, and then we have a link. It's also in the description, the front of the page, and in the chat pinned, that you can put in any amount. You can remain anonymous on any of these. You just click on the link and you can enter your credit or debit card in any amount you want, and it will go to me. So I love your stinking faces. I hope to see y'all in the morning. And in the meantime, if I just pop in on y'all, hopefully you have your notifications set so that if I do just randomly pop in without a scheduled thing, y'all will be able to find me streaming. So I love y'all, and I will see y'all in the morning. Bye.